Welcome back. Workers being injured on the job, especially at a construction site, might not seem unusual at first. Yet business owners say that there's more than meets the eye when it comes to a growing number of workplace accidents. They claim the number of injuries allegedly being staged is skyrocketing, and it's contributing to rising insurance rates. Personal injury attorneys say these claims are being blown out of proportion in an effort to change safety laws. In tonight's Prime Focus, ABC News chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky looks into this construction controversy.
See this construction worker lying there on the ground? He says he was seriously hurt on the job. But watch this. Business owners say it may not be all it seems. Moments before the fall, the video shows him moving the ladder he's working on closer to a table and then falling down.
Watch this. He looks, and then he falls. And that would be your staged accident. And if that camera wasn't there, you're probably looking at multi-millions of dollars right there.
The worker is just one of hundreds being accused of staging accidents on the job and hoping for a big payout. This worker appears to cover the wet ground with plastic before lying down. He filed a lawsuit claiming he was hurt when he fell from this dumpster because he wasn't given the proper safety equipment. Business owners say claims like these are costing them and their customers millions.
We just raise our rates, the insurance companies raise their rates, and the cost of doing work skyrockets.
Steve Katz has worked in construction in the New York City area for more than 50 years. He says workers getting hurt on his job sites is uncommon.
It started 8 years ago, when I had my first lawsuit.
Katz says one of his employees claimed he fell from a fire escape. Doctors said the man was fine and could return to work, but the worker never showed back up.
But this guy wasn't hurt, at least on your job site.
And my insurance company settled for $3.6 million. That's when I went crazy. I started to ask around. This was 3 years later, and I found out that I wasn't the only one. My competitors told me they were all getting hit with these fake falls.
In 2019, Katz was sued again by a construction worker. This time, though, other employees on the job site told him their co-worker was planning that fall in advance, even allegedly saying he was willing to teach them how to fake an accident.
So since then, I've had a total of 8 of these phony lawsuits.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Katz's story caught the attention of Don Orlando with Tradesman Program Managers, which investigates injury suits its clients are facing.
We work for the property owners and the trade contractors in the construction industry.
Tradesman says some of the accidents are clearly staged. They point to this one from a worker claiming injuries to his head and limbs.
We do not believe this person actually even worked for the trade contractor. The ambulance is on its way, and it's pretty unfortunate because he didn't fall, he just sat down. The foreman here is pointing to the camera, basically saying, hey, there's a camera there. They didn't know that.
Cameras may be a work site's best insurance policy.
He probably would do better in the World Wrestling world. So for that $200 or $300 investment in that camera, that saved that employer millions of dollars.
Fake falls on their job sites are not only driving up their costs, but also your costs.
Our station, WABC, analyzed hundreds of construction site injury lawsuits in New York City. 30 plaintiffs claim to live at this one apartment building in the Bronx. 21 people who filed lawsuits claim to live at this 2-story home nearby.
We looked at more than a half dozen different lawsuits. All of them list this address here in Queens. 7 different plaintiffs, all of them allege they were hurt on construction sites.
I would call the plaintiffs in this case victims. They're the ones being taken advantage of. They're being manipulated.
But you were able to find out these guys taking falls, they're not just one-offs trying to scam you. There's a whole network of people.
Correct.
How did it work?
It was organized.
Tradesman says this is a scheme that exploits migrants, with lawyers and doctors in on it.
The doctors, if you can believe this, do surgeries on them, even though they don't need it.
But it's preying on these undocumented immigrants.
Exactly. They're told, listen, we can teach you how to make millions. You have to fake a fall on a construction site.
It's morally wrong. Take out the fraud element. You're taking advantage of someone who's deprived as it is, and America's supposed to be the land of opportunities.
Tradesmen filed federal racketeering lawsuits against 4 different law firms, multiple doctors, and others, more than 100 defendants in all.
We're alleging that the law firms, in conjunction with the runners, have an enterprise. They get their mark, they get an innocent victim, we would call them a victim, even though they're a co-conspirator to a crime. These people have nothing. They're sleeping on mattresses in warehouses.
Attorneys for dozens of the defendants say the allegations have no merit. They intend to file motions to dismiss the claims against them.
When you heard about sort of this RICO effort, what was your reaction there? Other than a deep sigh, perhaps?
Well, my reaction to that lawsuit was, this is another way that the insurance companies are trying to tarnish the civil justice system for these injured workers.
Nick Wariwoda is a personal injury attorney in New York who represents workers who are hurt on the job. His firm is not involved in the RICO case, but he says he's not seeing the same widespread fraud that's alleged. He thinks this is an attempt by the insurance and construction industries to repeal New York's Labor Law 240.
Construction workers, probably the most dangerous job to have, especially here in New York City.
The structural steel erectors are sure-footed and unafraid.
Labor Law 240 was written in the 1800s, long before any federal protections for construction workers, and it requires construction sites to have specific safety measures in place.
If you repeal Labor Law 240, it is going to cause more injuries, more serious injuries, more deaths at construction sites. That's not the solution to this. The solution is to hold the construction companies accountable.
We actually enjoy paying claims that are legitimate. It's become more that 50% of the cases are staged, they're fraudulent.
After one of the RICO suits was filed, protesters tried to interrupt a press conference held by insurance and construction industry advocates outside the courthouse in Brooklyn.
This is about criminal enterprises ripping New York State off of billions and billions of dollars.
Press conference organizers say they asked the protesters why they were there.
And then when we walked up to them, obviously they said, the day before somebody came and organized us, then the leader of the person said, that's what we do.
We're just concerned citizens who are annoyed about the practices of these companies, and we're here to make our voices heard.
New York State Assemblyman David Weprin introduced a bill in Albany that would make it a felony to stage a construction accident for the purposes of insurance fraud.
These fraudulent acts burden contractors and developers with inflated premiums, which are ultimately passed on to consumers through higher housing costs.
New York union leaders are against the bill, saying insurance fraud is already against the law, and the new bill would undermine worker safety. While debate over the bill continues, Katz says this is costing us all.
It affects the maintenance in your co-op and your condo. It affects your rental in your building, because they have to raise the rents. It filters down.
The labor law cases in New York are going to affect the entire country. Everybody's a victim. We all pay for it.